Saving money versus spending money. What are the benefits to both saving and spending? On this episode of Through the Pines, we will talk to two certified financial planning professionals to get their opinion on saving versus spending. I'd like to welcome back in the studio Rex Baxter and Brandyn Smith from planwithbaxter.com, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Yes, 3 years in a row, winning the Forbes Best in-State Wealth Management Teams for Utah, along with the Advisor Hub, fastest growing advisors to watch under $1 billion, along with being the receivers of the Ameriprise Client Experience Award. Rex, thanks for being back in studio with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us. I'm not sure how I got invited to this podcast. You guys just need someone to gang up on me.
Well, we also brought Brandyn, so yeah. Just in case you forgot or didn't know what you want to talk about. But this one is going to be, hopefully you guys lean a certain way and we can pit you against each other and have a major fight later.
That's really good.
So what we are trying to figure out is the benefits of saving money for the future. Why should we save? We're all going to die anyway, so I don't really understand the point here. So
you don't understand the point of saving?
Yeah.
Save. Just save.
I mean, this is
save. Save to save.
It started already. Brandyn, I'm hoping now you watch every dime. Like you make sure that the money goes. Okay, good.
It goes down
but
to
you
the
do
penny.
like to live as well and spend money living, right? Okay.
So my wife does. She goes through and she actually looks at the credit card statement and she itemizes and puts everything where things are, right? Like we spent this much eating out, we spent this much on food, we spent this much on gas, we spent this much on all the like entertainment. We literally will itemize where everything's at.
But you're the financial planner.
Yeah, but she's really good at going through, and frankly, she's the one that is spending, right? Like, and not like she on her, but like she's kind of the one spending all the family finances.
I love my wife. She doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't itemize it.
But I love my wife.
But then we review it together. Right. And the goal is not to save every penny or to be as efficient as possible. In fact, there's a lot of times where I'm like, no, I would love to spend more on dates for us. Right? Like if we ended up spending X amount of dollars a month on dates on us, I think that's a great investment that we'd look back on and never regret. I hate spending money on like stupid like food stuff. You know, like
I know
snacks.
Eating is terrible.
I would love it if we could buy a couple more skeletons.
Yeah. Rex has a lot of skeletons. Rex, let's begin with you with the benefits of saving money for the future. Talk to me about having financial security and peace of mind, saving to provide a safety net for emergencies, medical expenses, job loss, just all around reducing stress and anxiety and uncertainty with
let's just lay down one of the laws, right? None of us can predict the future, right? That's I think that's
so you
true.
should live now.
You cannot predict the future. So because you can't predict the future, you don't know what expenses are going to come up. You might need it for medical reasons. You might need it to replace a vehicle. You might need it to help kids or grandkids out. You might need it to all kinds of things that you just don't know. And so you want to save to make sure that you can cover the unexpected and the unpredictable.
Yeah. Brandyn, why should we save?
Well, contrary to maybe what people think financial advisors think, because I get this all the time, I genuinely believe the objective of good financial planning is to allow you to maximize the dollars you spend throughout your life evenly, right? I don't want any cliffs. I don't want any like crazy raises. Like the objective is not to just save and have buku dollars in retirement. I don't think that makes sense because every year of your life is so valuable, right? Today, I've got...
Rex finds no value in life, apparently.
Contrary to how some financial advisors believe. Some people have a goal to pass on legacies and wealth to future generations and want to amass a lot of money.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. And if that's your goal, I can help you do that. We can help you do that. That's in fact, that's probably the easiest financial plan to do, right? You just simply save a bunch extra. You save more than you need to, and you build that wealth up. That's a really easy thing. The harder plan is to figure out how to make memories with your kids while they're young, how to have fun with grandkids, and still make sure that you've got enough set aside that you're always going to have enough through retirement.
So I don't think either plan is more difficult than the other. They both have their own complexities, whether it's tax planning, whether it's how do we pass it on most efficiently, whether it's balancing the money for today versus tomorrow. I think both from a planning standpoint, I think they're both complex. I think from the emotional and behavioral standpoint, the balancing act between trying to spend a bunch today and die close to broke, right? Or die with less capital because you're enjoying a lot of it today. I think the balancing act and the emotional draw of that is extremely difficult because you get so accustomed to a certain lifestyle today that as inflation increases and you try and keep up with that lifestyle or you try and keep up with your neighbors, I think that is extremely challenging.
Well, it's not about keeping up with your neighbors.
Isn't it?
No, it's not.
I mean,
it's not. Rex, you know this of all people.
Go from camper trailer to RV.
You of all people know this, right? You guys go on vacations and do great, fun family vacation. I mean, you guys are so family oriented. Your objectives are to build amazing family memories and family bonds, right? Like that is what you guys are doing, and you spend money it takes money to do
it does, but the concern is that you see somebody that's 60 that's doing that with their kids, or 70 doing that with their kids because they've saved for so long, or with grandkids, either one or both or all the above, and great grandkids. I don't have any great grandkids yet. but you're trying to save, and as a 30 or a 40-year-old, you're seeing that 60 and 70 enjoying and being able to do all of those things, and that 30 and 40-year-old want to do that today, and they haven't saved up for it today. And that's where you get into that difficulty.
But that is where the financial planning comes in, where you can say, all right, at your age, you're 35 years old today, you can, as long as you're living on X, because that's what I do. When I do a financial plan, I want to know, what are you living on today, right? What is your monthly spending? Let's just say it's $6,000 a month. That's what you're spending today. After the mortgage is paid, after the taxes are paid, you need $6,000 a month to just kind of live as you're living today. That is the baseline. I want to make sure that I can have you set so that not only will you have $6,000 a month adjusted for inflation, for your working years, but also all through retirement. That is the baseline. If I can make sure that with a high probability of success, you're going to have enough and more than enough money to hit that goal and maintain today's lifestyle for the rest of your life, that's like step one.
And I agree with that completely. I think where we get into a difficulty is I don't want to live on $6,000 and the inflated equivalent of that for my entire life. I want to live on $9,000 for the next 20 years, and then I want to cut it back to $4,000 the last 20 years.
And that's hard.
That's where you run into the difficulty, is losing the balance of saving for tomorrow and spending today, and trying to overweight the spending of today at the consequence of saving for tomorrow. That's where you run into the difficulty.
And I think we'd all agree that's highly dangerous.
Absolutely, because that was a smart statement.
So what about, so you're talking kind of retirement situations here, but what about, and this is again because we'll talk about the benefits of spending money here. You're going back and forth, but I have questions on that. But under the benefits of saving money, let's talk about saving money to achieving some, what would be like mid to long-term goals. In other words, Rex, some of these milestones like buying a home, funding education, starting a business, those are also very good reasons to put money away.
Right. And you need the power of compounding in order to save for those goals, right? Which means time, which means starting early to save for those goals and delaying your gratification and the spending gratification in order to achieve those.
How much money should you be putting away for these I'm calling them middle goals because they're not retirement goals, but
a lot.
Like
I
percentage
mean, it varies, right? Because
of checks.
Yeah, so it varies based upon what your goals are, and so it's hard to come out with a specific percentage and a rule of thumb and say, well, follow the 50-30-20 rule, right? You spend, your bills cover 50, your discretionary and fund cover 30, and your savings covers 20, right? And so it's hard to come to a rule of thumb like that, because the different goals have different amounts. And so some people are going to have a goal of, look, I want to be able to put, 50% of my house payment down or the house cost down so that I minimize my monthly expenses. And you're going to have somebody else say, oh, no, I'm going to borrow up to 97% of that house price. And so I only need to save 3% in order to get into that house. And I'm okay to pay the PMI, the mortgage insurance on top of that. And so it's hard to come up with a rule of thumb for a podcast, because everybody's going to be so unique and so different in what that goal is that they're trying to hit.
We literally have a podcast called Rule of Thumbs.
Oh,
that's true.
You're right.
That's
We literally do. So ignore what I just said. No, don't ignore what I just said. But if you want a rule of thumb that may or may not and probably won't apply to you, go listen to our podcast, The Rule of Thumb. So we've got them all on there.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what I do. I set my retirement up so it's automatic. Right? Retirement is going to just pull out of the check. It's a 401k, it's HSA, it's automatically going, it's being saved.
Plus automatic increments each year, or?
Yeah, I do have that. Okay. And do you need that? I don't know. Right. But at the end of the day, my retirement is funded. And I can feel confident that, hey, you know what? I don't need, I check in on it every once in a while, but at the end of the day, retirement's going to be okay. Then I can focus on short-term and intermediate term. And for me, Jess and I have sat down and said, all right, we want to save X amount of dollars per month. Like, we want to watch our savings account build by this much every month. And I just track it, right? Nothing fancy, just an Excel spreadsheet and I'm sure there's better ways to do it. But I just like the spreadsheet because I can kind of break down all the other numbers on averages and things like that. But I just put in what is our total savings, and I just kind of watch that. And I watch and I say, all right, man, over the last 3 months, we've grown by an average of X amount per month. And then I can take that number and say, all right, if we can consistently do that, and we do it through car repairs and tires and whatever it is, then that affords us X amount of dollars per year for vacations or for toys or for whatever it is that we want to buy. Is that a good number? Isn't it a good number?
So you're reinvesting the difference of savings.
We just let our savings account grow. And I say we just do it, right? It's a concerted effort.
And what percentage would you say of your income are you putting towards retirement?
I don't know. I should know.
Wait a minute.
It's automatic. So
it truly is automatic.
But I didn't know if you based that automatic number off of a percentage or not.
It is a percentage based off his gross income.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that same percentage, so as his income goes up, it's more dollars, but it's the same percentage. And so that's increasing.
Which is a great way to do it, because a lot of times people will get a raise but then not increase their contributions towards retirement. But if you keep it at a percentage instead of a dollar amount, then it's...
If it's the right percentage, then yes. If a lot of people will start at a lower percentage because they're trying to do the balance between.
What would you consider low? 3?
Like maybe 6, right? Or 3 or 8 or all of those are low, right? I think most people need to be between 10 to 15 in saving for retirement, depending upon how early or how late you're starting in saving for retirement.
Right. Yeah, because we're only at like 11%.
Yeah.
But
that gets you there.
Because we started when we were way young, and then I guess it's more than that with the match and things like that, right? But
I think what blows up the savings, I don't count the match. I don't.
You should count match.
I don't think you should count the match.
What do you count it as, bonus bucks?
Absolutely. That's my fun money.
Okay.
And so I do think that the issue becomes on the other savings, where you're saving for the short-term and intermediate goals, is all of a sudden that, oh my gosh, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I can't pass this up, right? I get to go, there's this opportunity to go hunt for Bigfoot in the Ozarks. And how often do I get to go do that?
Not very often. Yeah.
And so I'm going to take this extra, $5,000 out of savings, and we're going to go on this once-in-a-lifetime thing. And they don't really think through, oh my gosh, because I'm pulling it out today and I'm losing the compounding, that puts that house purchase off an extra 3 years or whatever the time frame is. And they still have the impression that I'm still going to be able to do this goal in 5 years just like I had planned, and now they're not able to. And so when it comes to that point, they still pull the trigger. And that's what's increasing, a lot of times, that's what's increasing those debt loads, those debt limits on individuals, because they don't adjust the other goals based upon their immediate gratification of their spending and needs.
Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, let's go to Brandon. Protection.
He's way more fun.
Under the savings part of the benefit, protection against inflation and rising costs would be another reason to save money for the future.
Yeah, and that, inflation is a crazy thing. It's so slow, and recently it wasn't slow, and everyone's like, "Hey, I could feel this," but usually it's so slow that it's imperceptible. But we see this in retirement planning. People will go out and they'll buy like an annuity or something, and it'll have a set fixed payment, and they love that set fixed payment because it's not going to move. But then all of a sudden they don't understand it's not going to adjust for inflation. And then when you really look at that and you realize, wow, 25, 30 years into retirement, towards the end of your retirement, you're effectively taking home half of what, it's same dollar amount, but it has half the purchasing power as when you started retirement. And so, the best way to really calculate inflation is software, in my opinion. That's probably a dumb answer, but you have to have a software capable of adjusting for market returns, adjusting for taxes, and adjusting for inflation. I mean, when we show people the financial plans, it's kind of fun to fast forward out and show them, hey, yeah, we're actually projecting that we're going to send you $25,000 a month. And they're like, what? I could never. And like, no, that's what it's going to take. But when you use the software, that's how you project and hedge against that.
Thanks.
I remember reading a book, and I can't remember I wish I could remember what the book was, but they went through an inflation teaching example with the kids, because the kids were having a hard time grasping inflation. And so what they did is one week they drank about a gallon of milk a week is what this family would do. And so they bought a gallon of milk on Sunday, and on Wednesday it was about half empty. And so the dad just took the milk away. And he's like, oh, that's inflation. You're out of milk, because you could only afford to buy half a gallon because that's how much it costs now. And so now the rest of the week you didn't save. You didn't ration your milk and didn't save. And so you're out of milk.
This is child abuse.
Yeah, kids like crying. Oh, we're going to starve.
I assure you they didn't ever forget that lesson.
Yeah. I don't think they like inflation either, like at all.
Right.
Probably.
But that's the problem, right? Is sometimes we'll go through these examples and they're living on, let's say somebody's spending $50,000 a year on life, and we run through our inflation calculations, we run through our software, and all of a sudden 30 years from now it's showing that they're spending $120,000. Sometimes people have a hard time getting their arms around that. They look at that and they're like, I don't need $120,000. I can spend more money today. I don't need to save that much because I don't need $120,000. And they have a hard time getting their arms around that that's the same buying power, the same lifestyle as today, 30 years from now. And so that impacts, again, that immediate spending.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the financial advantages to saving money that I would 100% get behind and would sell all day long and tell people, save every dime until you can do this, because I think it is that important, is that it provides financial independence. In other words, the more money you have, the less in savings, the less stressed you are about life emergencies. Like if there is a change in job situation and you have no money in the bank, this is extraordinarily stressful. You have a medical emergency and there's no money in the bank, it's stressful. But if you have money in the bank and there's something that happens and you just don't want to work for a year, you can, because you have money in that relieves so much stress. I've had it and it's unbelievable. So that would be an argument for saving money, because not quite retirement money, but enough money to just say, like, I don't care what you think, anyone, like boss or whatever. I don't need to make because you will make certain decisions based on just money if you don't have any in the bank. that could be bad.
So I completely agree, because I'm in that same camp, but that is your personal bias, that financial security is extremely important to you, and that's very high on your values list.
Yeah, a form of freedom,
right?
For me, yeah.
And so, however, I was meeting with somebody the other day where that is extremely low on their value list. They've gone through periods in their life where they've had no income, no savings, and they've had to literally just go on to Medicaid and scrimp by. And in my discussions with him, he's like, yeah, that wasn't that bad. I'm okay with that. I can handle that risk. Therefore, I want to spend more money today and make more memories today. And if it leads me down that path to where I'm destitute, that's okay. I'll be old.
I don't understand, Brandon.
I don't know.
Thoughts on financial independence, like saving money to be financial independent. I mean, you could call it early retirement. And we've had podcasts on this where we've discussed that those who have a job, a career that they love, and then they retire, and then the next day they lose the social connections, they lose their patterns of life, of like what and then they don't know what to do. But if you have the retirement money earlier and you just work because you want to, then you can slowly sort of ease into that, or you can just do it whatever you want. But the benefits of saving enough money to have financial independence. Any thoughts, Brandon?
One thing I tell my kids all the time, because I'm trying to like brainwash them with it, is I tell.
Talk about child abuse.
Well, that's what parents are for.
No, this is good. This is good brainwashing. I just point out, if you've got $20,000 of credit card debt that you just kind of hold and maintain, because a lot of people do that, where they just sit with $20,000 and they're just paying enough off, and sometimes they pay it down to 16, and then it goes back up to 24, and they're just sitting there with $20,000 of credit card debt. I say, who gets to spend more money on toys and vacations and having fun? The person who has $20,000 in credit card debt their whole life, or the person who has $20,000 in savings? And you always want to say the person that has credit card debt, because you think, oh, they're the ones that went out and actually, went and spent it. But the reality is you don't make money by using credit cards. You lose your spending power. Well, obviously, right? But you lose. You're just paying interest that whole time, right? And I get that conceptually when it's put that way, it's like duh, But the reality is, if you want to spend more money and enjoy more things, you just have to avoid credit card debt. Like you can't use credit card debt, otherwise you don't get to spend as much on stuff, right? And I know that sounds basic.
It seems like it takes multiple years and times of people doing that for them to learn that lesson.
Unless their dad brainwashes them.
Unless their dad does educational teaching lessons all throughout their youth.
Well, and this leads to the reduced debt risk. So robust savings cushion means you're less likely to rely on credit cards and loans during emergencies, Rex.
Yeah, I think the less you can rely on those is good, but it's the immediate gratification, right? As if all of a sudden I go and buy some razors or some side-by-sides and I rack up credit card debt, I'm going to have a lot of fun for a year, or even make some memories for 3 or 4 years, but then I'm probably going to go a decade or 15 years with no memories because I can't afford it, because I'm having to pay those things
The flip
off.
side of that is, and we'll get into this in a minute, is by the time you can afford it, you're 95 years old, and so you missed your window.
Right. And that's the argument.
That's
my
the
wife
argument.
would like send me the meme, right, of that old couple that's like passed out asleep on that fancy boat in like France or something, She's like, I don't want to wait until we're 90 to have money, And it's a rational argument.
Yeah, but you can't predict the future. And so,
But that goes
so you
when you
don't
say
know
that,
what expenses you're going to have.
But that goes both ways. You can't predict the future. Can answer both spend now and save, because you could make anyway. Let's talk some more numbers, Brandon.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a cop out.
No. You can use that argument that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so spend it all today or save it all, because you might need money or you might die.
But which situation is worse? If you're wrong,
it depends.
If you are
because
wrong,
the person you talked to a couple of weeks ago was like, I can deal with the consequences.
No, if you're wrong, then which situation is worse, right? If you spend it all today and you're wrong and you live, then that situation is terrible. You can't afford your health care.
No, but you're alive and you can maybe come up with ways to...
Maybe you're on the street. right?
That would suck.
And so which situation is worse? And if you save and you're wrong and you pass early, you're right, then you're gone. And so who cares? The family gets the money, and the family can go and use that money, and your family is taken care of because you're prepared for them, assuming you're married and have kids and things like that. But so which scenario, if you make a mistake, if you're wrong in your assumptions, which one is worse? Would be my question to him.
Okay,
that's fair,
Brandon.
But it depends on the people too, because
it does.
I think a lot of people get incredible amounts of satisfaction being on track for retirement, having an emergency fund.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they die in a car accident the next day, it's not like it was for naught. Like you still get that safety, the security, the satisfaction all the way along the way, knowing that, hey, I'm all right. Like I'm going to be fine. Like that there is satisfaction in that. On the other hand, there are some people who just don't care about the future. And in odd ways, I'm envious of them, right? Like sometimes because they just go out and have fun and just do stuff and they make those memories. And I'm like, man, I think they're fooling themselves a little bit and possibly the people they talk to. I feel like the happiest people I've met, and when it comes to myself personally, it's like, okay, I know they've got money that they're putting away for retirement, right? That they know that they're comfortable, like you said, Brandon, you know that like, if I just keep this up, I'm good in retirement. But also it's a matter of balance and not spending more than you make. And so now I do have money that I can go do fun things now. Now I can't buy like the super expensive stuff because I'm saving money, but I can afford to live, and there's a balance there. Right. And understanding that money is not the thing that's going to bring you joy in life. I think that's like the biggest piece. Like if you're trying to buy happiness, buy joy with money,
it's not
a good idea.
I would argue that you can buy
money
freedom
enhances.
and time and things that help lead to joy. In other words, if you have enough money in the bank that you can tell your job, hey, I'm not working late, and I don't care if you fire me because I'm going to my daughter's awards ceremony. That's a power position that you now have, based off of not caring about what happens with your career because you got money in the bank to be like, no, I'm going to go do my thing.
And that's nice, but you can still be bound by a job and still be happy and still have plenty of joy in life. Like you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Money just enhances. And I think if you're trying to use money to buy something that's missing in your life, like that's never going to end well. Anyway, some more numbers.
Ask all the people in like Hollywood and professional athletes.
All the divorced unhappy people.
I was going to say,
I don't know. Anyway, let's do the some more numbers, Brandon.
So last time we talked about manufacturing in our last podcast, talked about how in the early 1940s, 39% of American workers were employed in manufacturing. That's gone down to 8% in manufacturing today.
Wild.
And yet we're still 12-fold the output. We're actually 12 times more.
Even wilder.
Yeah. So we talked about that in our last one. This one, also by First Trust, they pointed out, do you know who the number one manufacturing country in the world is?
Germany?
Not
China.
Because China. Yeah. China by a long shot. Number 2.
India.
United States of America.
Oh, we are?
And not only like, hey, we're number 2, we are more than the next 3 countries combined.
Wow.
Japan, Germany, and South Korea.
It's not even up there. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big number. The fact that, one, we're number 2, and I'm sure there's a fairly big gap between China and us.
Yes, there is.
On manufacturing.
They're like twice us.
But the fact that we're still bigger than the next 3 combined is a big number still.
Yeah.
Even if it's only 8%, is that what it was?
Yeah, 8% of our population.
is working in manufacturing.
And it takes the next 3 to match it.
Imagine what we could be if we were at 20% manufacturing.
But is that the goal?
I don't know. Maybe. It depends if we want to be independent, right? If we want more independence and control over what's produced in country or not. I mean, there's a lot of arguments both sides.
I had this. It's a bit of a philosophical question, but we were discussing a book, and it was a sci-fi book, and what happens when the robots take over and do all of the jobs. AI can do all of the things. what do we do as humans to create value, to create a monetary system that we trade and barter with? Like, what is our value at that point?
Well, that's why I'm saving so much today, so I can just go sit on a beach.
Yeah,
when that happens.
That should have been
Rex is not wrong, because who is really going to own the technology that does this? Corporations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who owns the corporations?
Well, we can if we invest in them.
Right.
Investors.
In the investors.
Let's talk about the benefits of living now, Brandon. Spending money while living now, improved quality of life, spending on experiences, travel, hobbies, can enhance happiness and well-being. You mentioned it earlier. You don't want to be 90 when you're touring France.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. The cobblestone's hard on your knees. No,
but I think so. I'm a financial advisor.
This? Yeah.
In order to make it in the financial advising industry, at least for me, I had to drag my family through poverty, right? For like 8 years. We really didn't make very much, right? Like that's just that's the gig you sign up for. And we had a great life, like just a really good life.
There's a lesson there.
I think so. And I think that's where the balance comes in.
Yeah.
Right? When you can go to bed at night and just be really happy with your life. Would we have liked to travel more? Absolutely. And me and my wife, for our 10-year anniversary, we went to Hawaii, and that was amazing, right? Just incredible, the beauty and being able to see all the things. But I guess my takeaway is that the stress that you add to your life trying to pursue those things that just kind of enhance it is not worth this. The juice is not worth the squeeze. If it's a beautiful enhancement, but I don't think it's what I wouldn't want to trade that.
Yeah. Sometimes my wife has to remind me of these things because I do get caught up in the whirlwind of, I would like to buy this, or I'd like to upgrade a house or something like that. And my wife, the kids get in on it, and they're like, Mom, we need a bigger house because of whatever reason, like my bedroom's not big, and they're kids. And my wife will say, but I like our house and I like our vacations.
Yeah.
And if we upgrade the house and we have a family member that has an upgraded house but doesn't take as many vacations, and so we do the comparison thing, it's like, well, we can get a bigger house, but then we suffer in another area. Right. So what do you want? Right. How do you bounce?
And isn't that the trick, right? It's to first and foremost, make sure that you're solvent. Make sure that we're not living paycheck to paycheck. We've got an emergency fund and retirement's taken care of. Then after that, it's choices.
Yeah.
Because I've got friends that are like, I don't like traveling. I don't like they want to be at home in a nice place and just enjoy being alone and unbothered and not, stressing about travel. You got other people who are like, I traveling is everything, right? I want to go see cultures and I want to see things and I want to go experience the world. And that's great. But I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer as long as you cover the basics. And the basics are, I've got an emergency fund. I've got my retirement taken care of. I'm in control of my finances and I make conscious decisions about how I spend my money. And I feel like that's one thing that over the last 10 years of my life, 15 years of our marriage, I think we've done very well at. At the end of each vacation, and sometimes I think my wife likes it now. She didn't like it before. But I'll itemize every expense, right? This vacation cost us X, as opposed to this other vacation that we did that cost us this. What do we like more, right? And I think that is financial planning at its finest, is maximizing the enjoyment you get out of the dollars that you have.
Well, we work to earn the dollars, Rex. So we're going to spend them.
We are going to spend them, and we do work to earn them. I find it interesting. I enjoy spending, and I enjoy doing things as well. I enjoy vacations. I enjoy traveling with family.
What do you spend money
and things
on?
like that. So we travel a lot as a family. I bought a big van. I bought a 15-passenger van. We spent money on that.
Yeah.
So that we could travel as a family.
It might have been cheaper for you to buy a school bus.
It might have been. It might have been. So but it is interesting because after I spend the money, the endorphins don't last very long for me on the enjoyment of the spending of the money on the vacation. And I've found over my life that it doesn't really matter what I'm spending it on, but the endorphins don't last long. And then the stress and anxiety for me come on strong in waves. And it doesn't matter
like
how,
no matter how much you have saved or how well you can afford it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing for me personally. And I don't know if it's how I was raised. I don't know if it's, that we were raised with not very much money or what that is, or the first part of my career like Brandyn, right? That we really, it's really tight financially when you start in this business. And so I don't know where that comes from, but it definitely, after the initial joy and wave of, oh yeah, we booked the flights, we booked the hotel, and we're even first day of vacation, you're at the pool or you're at the beach or you're wherever you're at, right? And that's all fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. What am I
so you
doing?
You have FOMO, but it's fear of money out.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I have FOMO.
See, I'm literally the exact opposite. I hate spending money. It hurts. Like I found a little toy that I wanted to buy the other day, and it was stupid, but I was just like, it was a little dumb motorcycle, right? And I love them and it's fun, and then Jess and I can go ride them, whatever. And it wasn't even a lot. It was like $475, right? So it was like really a fairly inexpensive toy. But I still, driving up there, I wasn't excited. I had a pit in my stomach, right? Could I afford it? Of course, right? But it's like, I was just like, oh, and I bought it. I'm like, oh. And then I warm up to it.
And
then I'm happy.
What is that $500 preventing in the future that's giving you this anxiety?
Right. I don't know.
Well, so that's always interesting, right? That's the Buffett example, that when his kid wanted to buy, I can't remember if it was a TV.
Because Brandyn knows he's missing out on how many thousands of dollars if he invested that $400.
Absolutely, because I know in his brain, those wheels are turning.
Yeah.
And so.
But I don't think it's rational. I really don't. Because retirement's taken care of. I'm fine for retirement. It's truly like, oh, this is a lot of money. And I think it's just ingrained into my soul from, maybe living without money long enough. I don't know, where I'm just like, don't spend money, don't spend money, don't spend money. But then once I do, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad. That trip to Hawaii, I was just like, nope, don't want to do it. But my wife's like, we've got to do it. We've got to do fun stuff. And I was like, oh. And I remember even like flying out there, I'm like, I would really rather just leave this money in the bank. I would rather not. But man, that was one of the best experiences of my life. I'm so glad I did it. And I get so much joy from that down the road. I'm literally the opposite. I hate spending.
It's interesting how opposite we are that way.
Well,
that's interesting.
Rex, no, we had Jeeps when we were younger, and I
still do.
Yeah, it's true. I've upgraded to Land Rover. I bought my dream Jeep, and I was young, 18 or 19, whatever. I think it was 18, late 18. I don't know. I hadn't been working but 2 years. Buy my dream CJ5, and also because it's a Jeep, had to rebuild the engine within months. Right?
Yeah. He was a junior or senior and had to hoist it up in his carport.
Yeah, it was crazy. But then sold the Jeep because my mom said, we're going on a once in a lifetime trip to Alaska. I can't pay for your airfare, but if you want to pay for it, we've got a place to stay and food. I'll take care of all that. And so I was like, well, I don't have money. I've only been working. I spent all my money on a Jeep. So I sold the Jeep, which every now and then I still regret.
I never knew that's why you sold your Jeep.
You never knew that?
No, I didn't know why you sold it.
Sold the Jeep, went to Alaska, and I'm kidding when I say I regret it, because those memories I have used and the stories that I experienced in those 2 weeks fishing and boating and exploring the national parks in Alaska have stuck with me my entire life. And so there was an exchange rate there of the money spent. I didn't have it saved, but I sold something to spend on this trip that I have used these examples of my life there for only 2 weeks of my 50 years on this earth that I have told stories about numerous times, that I feel is incredibly worth it, even though sometimes I dream that my Jeep is still in my driveway. Yeah.
You were sad when you let that Jeep go.
Had to, if I wanted to go. But I was like, I'm going to trade the money in for an experience. And
but isn't that the goal, is to look back on your expenses and say, yeah, that was awesome.
It depends on how, and I think about that. It's like, well, what if I had kept the Jeep and not gone? Well, I wouldn't have any of those stories, but I'd have the Jeep. Well, would I have made the same experiences in the Jeep? Probably not. I maybe,
stories.
But I don't know. But you can't second guess that. Now,
it's hard to say. Would we have gone to City of the Rocks more? Would we have gone to Yellowstone more? It's hard to say.
Rex, what about spending money now to invest in yourself, say education, skills training, and boosting future earning potential?
I think that's smart most of the time, as long as it's within reason, right? You don't want to spend, $200,000 to jump into a $20,000 a year income, business. And so
who would do that?
Oh, yeah. Who would ever do that? So I think it needs to be within reason, but I think spending money to better yourself and increase your skills and your earning potential down the road. Absolutely. I think that's typically a very good use. Now, going in debt for that, we've had discussions about that before. And I'm not a fan of most of the time going into debt for that, unless there's a really good trade-off balance between the future potential and future income, that where you're being brutally honest. But a lot of people just lie to themselves and say, oh yeah, I'm going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars right out of the gate, when in reality, when you go and look at the average income of that job or that wage, it's a pittance of that. So I think you have to be brutally honest yourself with the give and take of what you're getting. What
about the argument of spending balancing your spending money and versus it's like going on a diet, like cutting all your calories, and then you just splurge. So you're saving every dime, and then you like lose it and you just spend it. You just go on a spending spree. And so what's the psychological advantage of just giving yourself a little bit of spending money so you don't just freaking lose it and go on a spending spree?
Binge and purge money program. Is that what you're talking about? I think that creates some really bad habits for the future for you. So I think that you can certainly do that. And I see people that do that, but most of the time, over time, they're not overly happy because they spend so much time scrimping and saving. And the joy that they get out of that binging of spending tends to become shorter and shorter as far as the joy and how long that lasts.
Yeah, so you should spend a little bit as you go, because if your savings percentage is too high, you might need to drop that a little bit and just spend a little bit to sort of prevent you feeling stuck. I
think trying to balance it out is good, but I also think that sometimes you put a goal out there of, we want to take the entire family to Disneyland, for example.
So you're saying it should hurt a little?
Well, I think that, you definitely sometimes hurting a little, or I think sometimes it's okay to save and for it to hurt a little bit for that goal that you're trying to do, of trying to create these memories with your family and take them to a special place. The happiest place on earth.
100%.
And I think that's okay sometimes, but I think if that becomes the rule instead of the exception, then I think that's where it can become a painful problem over your lifetime a little bit.
But there's absolutely clients I've run into, I'm sure you have too, where one spouse is just so nervous, they're just saving every last dollar, always, forever, with no end in sight. And it's traumatizing for the spouse, and it's absolutely traumatizing for the kids. And I've met with clients and said, man, my family growing up, this is what happened. And I'm not going to let that happen. And I've watched both sides of that, where they say, I am not going to live life without experiencing anything, and just say, like, that's not me. Or literally the inverse. I watched my parents, not me personally, but people that have watched their parents, just spend everything and not have enough. And they're like, I'm going to save. And it's traumatizing. Like those extremes, I don't think the extremes are the answer. I think those extremes, you don't get to enjoy life as much. And I think it hurts kids. I don't know. So I think it goes back to the same balance of we need to have enough saved for retirement and then enjoy what you have and kind of find a balance with that. Like, how's that not just the perfect, like that has to be the answer. There's nothing fancy about this.
Like, I just solved the
just save, have retirement on track.
Yeah.
Have an emergency fund.
Yeah.
and make sure you're consciously spending everything else.
And don't go into debt on stupid stuff.
Right.
Where's the mic drop when you need it?
That's all I need.
Okay, so what about this argument, Rex? Because if you don't spend money, it will send the economy into a downward spiral. Everyone's saving, no one's spending, and so spending supports businesses, jobs, the economy, which can indirectly benefit your community and financial ecosystem.
I don't think any one individual is going to change the direction of the economy.
No, but during COVID, we saw how a group effort can definitely change things.
For sure.
So it gets a little scary, especially being a small business owner in those times where it's like people weren't spending money at all for a few months. And it was like, this is really scary.
That
we need
would
the
have
people
a
to
big
spend
impact.
money.
We do need people to spend money, and I think spending money is fine if it's within that balance. I think it's when it gets out of balance or it becomes extreme that again, like Brandon said, becomes a problem. And during COVID, it got out of balance and it became a problem, right? As small business owners were going out of business, it became an issue because the lack of spending, the lack of balance at that time became a problem. Mm-hmm. And so I think both sides of that, whether it's the lack of spending, too much lack of spending, and everybody scrimping and saving and not enjoying life today a little bit, it can become a problem. And spending too much becomes a problem later down the road. And so I almost feel like the country as a whole is going through that issue now to where we're getting massive levels of debt as a country, as we're doing a lot of spending over the last 15 years since the Great Recession. The country has done a lot of spending, a lot of money into the money supply, and that has racked up an enormous hard dollar debt bill. Now, in relationship to income, and I get all of that, in relationship to income, in relationship to what the country produces, it's still within manageable levels. But at some point, it has the potential, because of the debt load on that, if any of those other pieces start to falter, then that becomes a major issue.
Yeah, but our debt to income ratios are still clean. They're still good.
But if that becomes an issue,
that's true, sure.
Right? Then because of the debt load we have, it would create major problems within the U.S. economy. And I think the same thing could be said for a family.
So this next scenario is, this is like Rex says, the stories we tell ourselves, Brandon, the stories we tell ourselves. So Brandon, this is the scenario. We just found out Jimmy, the neighbor down the street, just got orders. He's getting sent to another state. He's got to sell his boat like at a massive discount. Yes. He's selling it for like $15,000 under what it's worth. You could turn around and sell it the next day and make $5,000-$10,000 on it. You're pulling savings. You're pulling out of savings more than you should to buy this boat because YOLO. You only live. Let's buy the damn boat. I'm getting a killer deal on it. I don't have the money at the time, but I can't pass this up. It's too good to be true.
No, that's life, right? And
this happens all the time.
Yeah. That reminds me of a sailboat just a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's true. I did that. Yeah, because I had this dream sailboat, right? I had a smaller boat and it was great, but I had this dream one that I wanted. But they were, and these are not expensive boats, right? They're like $10,000 usually. But there was like this liquidation, like estate sale in the middle of winter in Montana for $2,500. This boat is $2,500 instead of $10,000 as a cheap, right? Like they're like 10 to 20.
Yeah.
And I'm just like $2,500. And did I have surplus savings? No.
So what does he do? He calls me.
I call Rex.
He calls
my financial advisor.
No. So this is how sensitive he is to making financial decisions.
But Brandon, you call anyone but Rex. I mean, come on.
No, Rex. No, so I trust Rex, and so I called him and I told him the situation, and I have, not retirement savings, right, but a non-qualified investment account, and then I was like, I could pull it out of there. You just didn't
have the cash in just a easy.
Well, I had it in the bank. No, I had it in the bank, but it would have brought my emergency fund below where
you wanted it. Okay.
Right. And
so he calls me, and this will shock people, right? He calls me. He's like, Rex, there's this estate sale up in Montana, and it is my dream boat. I've dreamt about this boat for 15 15
I didn't say
years.
that. It hasn't been 15 years. A few years.
This boat is going to bring my family together. It's going to keep us together. I can use this boat to help build my business. I can take out clients on this boat.
I may have said that.
Rex, this boat is going to raise the prestige of our family. This boat is going to get me to that next stratosphere.
No.
So he asked me, and contrary to what most people believe, I actually said, yeah, go do it. But I said, yes, but for the next few months, you need to tighten your belt, and you can't spend any more money until you get that emergency fund built back up.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do it, but then you've got to correct the problem.
Yeah.
And you've got to correct it as quickly as we possibly can.
That's good advice, Rex.
The problem is Rex didn't realize I was buying a boat. And anytime you buy a boat, there's expenses.
Oh, that wasn't the end of the expense.
Yeah, that was just the beginning.
That was the beginning of the expense. And I do know that. I do know that the best day of owning a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yeah.
That those are the best days. Everything else is just like a Jeep to where you empty every pocket.
But you know why Rex told you to buy it? Because if you just need a friend who owns a boat.
Right.
That was
true.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, because I knew that when I needed to buy a 15-passenger van, I could call him and I could pull in a chip.
Right. Like,
and I could say, hey, I let you buy that boat. Let me buy that van.
All right, let's close things out with balancing the two, the trade-offs. Saving excessively can lead to missing out on life's joys, while overspending can jeopardize future security. So a balanced approach. Rex, you mentioned the 50-30-20 budgeting rule, 50% needs, 30% wants. 20% savings can help. Any other tips on sort of balance?
I think having an accountability partner, and I think a lot of times that's what financial advisors can be for you, is kind of that check and balance to keep things in line for you. To have somebody that's logical about it, not emotional about it, and helping you make good decisions both for today and tomorrow.
Brandon?
The two worst financial plans I've ever seen. Guy making $600,000 a year, $100,000 in savings right around the corner from retirement.
Wow.
Second one, couple literally saved everything. They were like living in a duplex and had literally millions of dollars saved and wouldn't spend a penny. Those are the two worst financial plans. So much lost. And I think using a financial advisor not only is accountability, but to plan and project, and so that you can confidently be on track for retirement and enjoy life to its fullest today is the absolute correct answer.
Yeah. Context matters as well. So younger individuals may prioritize spending on experiences and education, while those nearing retirement may focus on savings. Personal factors like income, debt, and life stage influence can affect the balance as well. Finally, cultural perspective, which we didn't really touch on, but some cultures emphasize savings for future generations while others prioritize living in the moment, depending on where you live and your family dynamics and things like that. So, it's. I think Brandon found the answer to life's problems there in the middle of the podcast. You have to go back and clip that part. But anything else before we take off, Brandon, Rex?
No, I think balance is good. I think if you're questioning which direction you should go, then maybe run through the scenario of which situation is more painful to you if you're wrong.
Yeah, if you're wrong.
Yeah.
And we have to admit that we can be wrong sometimes.
Sometimes we're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think having cash creates an incredible amount of clarity. It's so much easier to spend money you don't have with debt. But once you got retirement figured out, once you got your emergency fund, and then you've got your surplus money that you're playing with, I think it's a lot easier to make those decisions. And so if you do the work to get that in place first, I think that serves you in a lot of ways financially. Yeah,
and I've heard, we've probably all heard this, save the first $1,000. Like, what are we doing? Like, put the freaking first $1,000 of cash in the bank, and then your emergency fund. But I will say, having cash in the bank is a wonderful feeling. So, if you found value in this podcast, consider supporting us at buymeacoffee.com/Banyan Media. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube at Through the Pines, where you see our wonderful, beautiful faces. You can like our Facebook page at Pines Podcast and follow us on Instagram, where we upload reels and shorts of the fun stuff, like the highlights of each podcast. That's Pines_podcast. This has been Through the Pines, reminding you to use yesterday's dollars to finance tomorrow's dreams.